Hi, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Red Sofa Conversations. My name is Lara, and I'm coming to you from London from my red sofa. Now, this is a really exciting project that I have been thinking about for about 8 months. And the reason is that I love conversations. I love conversations because conversations are the gateway to connecting with people, to finding those little nuggets of where you agree, where you disagree. And I think that right now, the art of conversation is something that has changed over the last, I would say, 10 years with the rise of social media, with people, more used to sort of texting rather than talking. And the thing about conversation is that you never actually know where it's going to go. And so this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to have conversations with people that I found interesting and talk about subjects that actually affect us all and bind us as humans. So I'd like to introduce you to my very first guest on my red sofa. And this is Zas. And Zas is my best friend. And we have been friends for 31 years, so you can imagine that that's a hell of a lot of conversations. And we've talked about pretty much everything. And so we're going to kick this episode off with just an easy topic, relationships.
Oh my.
Which basically encompasses every interaction we have as human beings and every role that we have. So, Zas, let me hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this couch. I've been on this couch before, I have to admit. And we have had these conversations. And I really love your introduction. Thank you so much. But mostly because I think you touched upon something really cool about conversations, especially in a great environment like this, where you have a wonderful couch, a really good friend, memories that you've shared together that you can tap into while you talk. But the fun thing about a conversation is you don't know where it's going to go. And every time you have a conversation with somebody, it might surprise you. It might go in a different direction. You might learn something. And we just love conversing anyway.
Yes.
You and I are the type of people that love conversing.
We can talk for England, for California, for Spain, for Istanbul.
So amazing to be part of this cool project. I hope that people will find it, they'll want to tune in. They'll find it at least interesting enough to listen and maybe share back and feedback to us. So the topic we've picked.
Just that, relationships, that old chestnut.
We've gone for...
Go big or go home.
Go big or go home, right? Yeah. Relationships, oh my God, what can you say about them? They are such an important part of our lives. From the moment we're born to the moment we're no longer here, right? And yet, sometimes I find that we're so... we're at such a disadvantage to deal with the things that relationships challenge us.
Yeah. Because relationships involve more than just us. It involves you plus another person, another human who comes with their own baggage and their own kind of
their fractures
and
their history and even just their mood in that moment while they're having a conversation with you or when they're interacting with you. Timing is a big part of how relationships play out.
So let me ask you a question, because this is a question that actually I was discussing with my cousin about 6 months ago. And that was, how do you define a successful life?
Wow, that's a really big question.
Shall I tell you what I think? And because we are at different points in our life as well.
Please, go for it.
Okay.
You start. Okay. You get your feet wet.
So it's interesting because my viewpoint on this has actually shifted this year. So up to about March, I used to define a successful life by, for me, had I found my life partner and had I become a mother. And the reason that I define success in this way is because this is something that I had always wanted since I was young. It was kind of a no-brainer. When I was really young and I would read books and there'd be families in them, I just naturally thought that when I grew up, or got big, as I called it in my head, I would meet somebody, get married, have children. So that bit was sort of just a given. And then the question is, well, what do I do in my life? And here's the thing. What I realized from my conversation with my cousin about 6 months ago was when I told him that, that's how I define success, and thereby I felt that I had failed at life. I mean, it hurts me just to even say that, I failed at my life. He said to me that his definition of a successful life is where you spend time trying to figure out who you are and what your purpose in the world is, how you can bring meaning both to yourself and to serve other people. And so you get to a point where you really have an awareness of who you are. And he said, well, that's what you're trying to do right now. So actually, I feel that you are on the path to, in his definition, what a successful life is. And that really opened my eyes. And I thought, wow, when I'm defining myself by the roles that I fulfill.
I was just about to use that word. I think that what I heard you saying when you first explained how you define success, I heard that you needed to play roles, that certain roles, that you need to fulfill those roles in your life to feel successful.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot of pressure.
I was going to say.
Because, it's like if you put pressure on both achieving those roles, then you put pressure, following it through, which I've actually never thought about it in this way, but then you put pressure on those roles being everything and feeding you. And then what happens? God forbid if you lose your child, or if your child,
or if circumstantially you just don't find that life partner to form a family with.
Yes.
Forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. And then
so you will always feel like you haven't succeeded at life if you, and the danger with the roles as well is that they might end up becoming, as you go through life, like a checklist. Oh, I need to find a life partner and get married, right? I guess that's how you define a life partner.
Yes.
That you form enough of a commitment with one person that
endures forevermore.
So there's an element of longevity, right? Yes. So check. Yeah. I got married. Check. Then you probably would want to move on to, I want to have a family. I want to have children. I'm a mother. Check.
Yeah.
And what we forget when we make checklists is that they may be a lot harder to attain, I don't like that word, but they may be a lot harder to find than we actually give credit, we realize.
Yeah, because the presupposition from my statement is that I'm going to meet the person that I believe is right for me, and therefore the timing and that everything is going to add up. And quite frankly, that's been harder than I envisaged initially.
And even the forming a family part, is not something we should check off a list.
Because that comes with its own challenges, right?
It does, but even becoming parents sometimes comes with challenges.
Yeah.
I know firsthand and through a lot of people that becoming parents is not as easy. We can't take it as a given. It's not going to necessarily just be checked off a list once we have a life partner.
And on that reminds me of the video that I shared with you recently from Dr. Shefali, where she talked about, if we, I didn't think the conversation was going to go this way, but let's go with it.
It's going places.
But
hopefully you guys are keeping up.
But if we put those expectations on our children to fulfill a need or a hole in us, then what we're doing is we're basically they're being born, and then we're putting all our stuff onto them.
Yes.
That's a lot of pressure for a child too, because that child is their own individual person.
But we're approaching it the same way. We're saying these are the milestones we'd like them to check off their list.
Oh yes, for
and
them too.
We've created a list for them even before they've taken their first steps, even before they've gone into school, even before they've even formed their own sort of individual personality. Although I believe, and this is a little parenthesis, that humans are born with their personality, to some degree. Yes, we develop it as we go through life, but all of us are individuals as we're born.
There's a huge part of nature. I think nature and nurture are the yin and yang. So we have our innate qualities, and then our experiences help either enhance those innate qualities, or they deplete them, or they change them. And that's what life is, right? The journey of life.
The journey.
Because things happen in our lives that we just sometimes have no control over. And it's actually, and that's a good point actually, because it's really, and I heard this before, that it's not really what happens to you, it's how you respond to it. And that's as an individual, but even in a relationship, because I think that relationships, in the arc of relationships, you're probably going to experience a lot of different situations and interactions and a lot of different challenges, right?
Absolutely.
And you had a quote, right?
I do, but before I get into the quote, I think I wanted to say something. Why I think it's important that we start with relationships, or I think relationships in all the episodes that we end up filming are always going to be part of all the conversations.
True.
And I'll tell you, I remember reading, I don't remember if it was the book, and I'm going to try my hardest to remember names of books, okay? Please forgive me if I don't.
Okay.
But reading about people's experiences from their deathbed.
Oh, yes, the 5 regrets of the dying.
And maybe it wasn't regrets, but it was just conversations with people who were, seeing the beginning of the end of their life.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Taking stock, getting perspective, reflecting.
And most people, just like, let me quote someone famous, like the founder of Apple, Steve Jobs. I think one of the last things he's quoted as saying is that, at the end of your life, when you get nearer to that point, what you feel becomes really important are the people in your life, the people that you loved, the family that was close to you, the friends with whom you shared a lot of memories and great times. You don't remember money, how many expensive cars you had, how much success.
Wasn't he the one that said, at the end of the day, a really expensive watch tells the same time as a cheap one, and a Rolls Royce or whatever car he used gets you from A to B like a...
I don't remember if those were his exact words, but that was part of the premise. Yeah. And so he said something like, take care of your relationships. That was his sort of the last advice he had for people, is it's become really clear now that that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And we are in relationships from the moment we're born.
Yeah.
Parents, friends, we're part of communities, we're part of neighborhoods, we have neighbors around us with whom we have to, talk about different things and work together with. We at work, at school.
Yeah.
I mean, our life is an entire giant web of relationships. And I feel like, maybe we'll get into this a little bit later in the conversation, but I feel like we're sometimes ill-prepared
to handle the complexities that those relationships bring, because as we said, a relationship is made up of the combination of two people.
And at times we become dissatisfied with relationships when they are tested and when we feel they're not perfect anymore.
Oh, perfection.
Right?
Perfection.
I love these quotes. I love
yes, absolutely.
the air quotes. We become frustrated. Why is this relationship not working? Why is it imperfect? Why am I feeling like I'm not comfortable in this relationship anymore? Or, and when we talk about relationships, I think we're talking about, like we said, all of them. The spectrum. Friendships and
romantic relationships and familial relationships. Yeah.
So I think this is a great segue.
For the quote?
The quote.
Okay, hit me.
So I'm going to read you this quote, and then we can discuss it. You can tell me what you think, and maybe the viewers will want to share.
You can comment after, yeah.
All relationships go through hell. Real relationships get through it. Do you agree or disagree? What are your feelings?
Okay, all relationships go through hell. Real relationships get through it. Hell. Okay, so I think that hell is a one word, a one word to sum up, I suppose the worst parts. I think that you could substitute hell with challenges, right? So all relationships have the potential to go through challenges, but the ones that go through challenges, I think, are the ones where you are inextricably linked, where you're very, very close. I think that it's quite easy to, if we think of us at the center, the first and everything, all our relationships in concentric circles, I think that the inner core, those are the ones where, when there's something wrong, it affects you, like it really affects your core. The next ones will be, the friends who you see from time to time. Then you'll have acquaintances. Then you'll have people at work. Then you'll have, outside from that, friends of friends. Then you'll have, strangers, right? So I think that you can have the two concentric circles out. You can have relationships with friends that never go through hell because you're not inextricably woven in each other's lives, and you come together for like the fun parts.
Yes.
Right? Would you agree with that?
I do.
Okay. So then let's examine the inner core. I would say that when you have people who have two different, so their nature can be different, their ways of dealing with things can be different, they'll have different sensitivities. It's not inconceivable to imagine that challenges and miscommunications and misunderstandings can happen, right?
Right.
So let's not even talk about, big blowout arguments. Let's just talk about misunderstandings. Because I think that where relationships really where there's wear and tear on it. Oh, lots of wear and where there's wear and
I use that a lot.
Yeah, it's not really the big bombs that detonate relationships. Of course, it can be. It can be bombs. That we've all had relationships where like something big has happened and you're like, oh,
and
whoa,
you're blindsided.
And you're blindsided. But I think the most dangerous sort of catalyst towards change is when there's slight wear and tear, little by little every day. And so
those are the challenges.
So we
substituted challenges
for hell.
For the word hell.
Yes. And so then only real relationships get through it.
Get through it, yeah. Do you agree that a relationship has to go through challenges, hell, and we have to come through to the other side for it to be defined as a real relationship?
Well, we can again substitute like real. I don't want to use the word real.
It's a terrible word, isn't it?
Yeah, because then I think it sort of makes, if you don't get through something, it makes a value judgment. That's right. It makes a value judgment on if that relationship doesn't make it through to the other side, then it wasn't real. Whereas I don't think, I was going to swear there. Swearing will come later.
Go ahead and swear. The red couch is the perfect place to swear.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think that's kind of bullshit because whether something endures or not, the result does not make the actual thing any less real. So you can have I had real relationships. The fact that I'm not in those relationships anymore, that stemmed from a choice. It stemmed from a choice of making a decision that actually I don't think that I'm meant to be with this person. I don't think that this relationship is one that's going to really enhance my life rather than deplete it.
Right. And there might have been a point at which, when you were in that relationship for whatever duration it had, that all your needs were met, or you had the hope that it was going to
turn back, yeah,
turn a corner or turn back, but the fact that it doesn't make it less of a relationship.
Yeah.
You lived it.
You lived it.
You were comfortable.
Just because the love doesn't endure doesn't mean the love wasn't there in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, in some situations it can mean that the love wasn't there in the first place. But, I think that we're all grown-ups here. We've all experienced the wealth of, let's take romantic relationships. We've experienced crushes. We've experienced lust. We've experienced toxic relationships. We've experienced...
we've had our heart broken, right?
Yeah, completely. And it's a difficult place to be, but we've also experienced love. And I very much agree with Matthew Hussey here, where he says unrequited love is bullshit. Do you remember that video I sent you?
I've always We've talked about this a lot.
A lot.
You and I, because
we
both
think
agree.
that love is a verb and love is mutual. By its nature, love is mutual. And so when love is mutual, you feel it. It's not even a question. You know, the times that I have been in love with people, I have known that I'm in love with them, and I've known that they're in love with me before we've even said the words to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because you feel it. It's in how they treat you. It's in how they are when they're with you. It's in how they think about something that you said, and then, you know, buy you a CD.
It's a synergy, you know.
Yes.
It's a synergy. It's dynamic that's created between two people. So I've also never defined a relationship as love. I've never used the word love unless I felt there was
mutuality.
Mutuality, yes, exactly. And hasn't happened to you that by the time you both said the words to each other, I love you, you were both ready to say them, and they kind of, it happened.
It became a statement of fact rather than an urgent need.
But it was obvious.
Yes.
For both of you, most of the time. At least that's what I've experienced a lot.
Same.
If I've held back from telling somebody in any type of relationship I've had, I love you, it's probably because I didn't feel it was 100% mutual.
You weren't sure, yeah.
And therefore, I thought, well, this isn't really love yet.
Yes.
Until I feel the mutuality.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And so, but going back to this, so what are we substituting real relationships for? The ones that are meant to endure. You'll get through it.
Yeah, if we had to change this quote, I think we would definitely want to substitute the word real in there in for something else, right?
So all relationships go through challenges.
Evolved relationships get through it.
Conscious
relationships get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this might
Dr. Shefali talks about being conscious. She's a wonderful psychologist who's written a few books.
So she's written The Conscious Parent. That's how I first came to know about her in 2014 when she was interviewed on Oprah.
She's been on Oprah, yeah.
And then more recently, I think last week, on Super Soul Sunday, there was an interview with her where she's written a new book called The Awakened Family. And I really recommend that you guys look on Facebook under Super Soul or Oprah to check out that interview. It's amazing.
Absolutely amazing. And don't let the title fool you, because even though it talks about parenting and being a family, you don't need to be a parent to benefit from the wisdom and the
because we were all children too.
We were all children, and we were still part of families.
Yes.
We're still children to somebody, or brothers and sisters to people. And so
it's deconstructing a little bit about who we are and the sort of the triggers that we have, and the and all of this is unconscious, by the way. You know, that's the thing. You know, people don't set out to willfully hurt other people a lot of the time. That's what I believe. I think that we are so shaped by different experiences that we've had that we don't even realize. We don't even understand our patterning. And I think it's only when you actually start seeking to try and unpick and understand who you are and why, you know, you are triggered in a particular way and why you know, act in certain ways, that's when you start getting more clarity. But this might be a good time to actually, if we're talking about, you know, relationships going through hell, I mean, we actually lived
our
that.
relationship.
Our relationship went through hell.
Went through hell. Yes, it felt like hell at the time.
Yeah.
When we were going through it, it pained us very much, and I think it's something that we had never envisioned.
We had okay. Talk about being blindsided.
Yeah.
So to put it in context a little bit, Zas and I refer to each other as we are each other's twins. And soulmates.
We finish each other's sentences.
Yes, we think things and the other person says it, and I mean it's just kind of but
everybody's got a person or a few people that they feel this amount of closeness,
that synergy with.
Yeah.
And so when we had that sort of falling out, you know, it certainly blindsided both of us, because we were not equipped to actually deal with something that we had thought would just never in a million years happen.
Yeah. Happened to us.
Yes.
We thought our
relationship was invincible.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And okay, there were certain life circumstances that actually made it I suffered a bereavement as well in that period, and so if I hadn't, the period that we were estranged would not have been as long as it was.
Possibly.
That's certainly what I feel now. But what I think is more interesting is not really the length of time. I think it's more interesting about how, what are the steps to actually repair? Because I think that a lot of people have, so I'm doing an online course, and they talk about, in relationships, you can reach a stop sign, a speed bump, a stop sign, or a wall. And a lot of people, when they hit speed bumps or they hit stop signs, I think ours was probably a stop sign rather than a speed bump, we don't know how to navigate that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of relationships then, once they're in that period where there's distance and there's upset and whatever, how do you come back together? Well, first of all, why do you come back together? Yeah. Why do you choose to repair some relationships and not others? Maybe that's a good starting point.
Well, that is a really good question too, but I feel like we've come a little bit full circle to where we started from, because we started talking about expectations. And I think when we had our falling out, our period of estrangement, it definitely blindsided us, because I think our expectation of our relationship, because it felt so natural and so easy and spontaneous, and there was just this
and
spark
neutral, and just
we spoke a lot, effortless. So you've touched upon something by using this word, because relationships go through challenges, and therefore effort is required. We thought we were invincible.
Yeah, we did.
Right?
Yes.
So it was like a trap. It was a mind trap that we had created for ourselves.
Unconsciously.
It's never going to be hard.
Yes.
It's never going to be.
Oh my God, that's genius. Because that's what happens in romantic relationships too, right?
Yeah.
You go into something and you've got all the love and the good feelings and the oxytocin and the romance and that lovely period. And then you get into what Matthew Hussey calls the storming period. I just watched that video, and he talks, and I thought, storming period? That doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound like a period I want to get to.
What does that even mean? I'm waiting for the definition.
So the storming period is when you both realize that you are different people. And that your actions in a revelation. There, she did it. She did. High five. Fuck on the red sofa.
Okay. This is a little bit of an aha moment, because it's a reminder we've all gotten there. Yeah. But when we got there in any relationship, we went, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What?
It's supposed to be effortless.
It's supposed to be like this. Yeah, right?
Yes.
Because it looks effortless in the movies. Because
the movie. Okay, look, you know me. I'm a sucker for the movie with the happy ending. I am. But saying that, I also work quite hard at relationships. So yes, okay guys, I'm a sucker for the romantic movie. But I have an awareness about, communication and sorting through things. But going back to us, so effortless. We thought that it would be effortless. And suddenly we were faced with, we might need to work at this. But I don't think it was...
And we tried...
But it wasn't the...
Let me jump in here for a second.
Yeah.
I think we tried immediately to work at it by having conversations. But we were so blindsided, and so the emotions were still sort of coming up and surfacing, and we were incapable at that moment of having a productive conversation. We tried.
Yeah, we tried. We had to. They didn't go particularly well.
So looking back at the repairing aspect, I think time.
But first of all, why?
Okay,
why did you want to repair?
Why did we want to repair? Well, because it was a feeling. I didn't feel whole without you in my life. Just like I wouldn't feel whole with these important relationships in my life,
Yeah.
So I knew I had a feeling of discomfort and pain. It pained me, and you were sometimes right there, and I felt like you were far.
Yeah.
So
it was the need of actually, I need to resolve this because I don't feel like I can move forward without, and I want this person. So you first of all, so in repairing, like with a, it takes two, and so you both have to want to. I mean,
and this was a relationship, like you described it before, as concentric circles. This was a relationship that for me was the first concentric circle.
Me too.
It was at that level.
Yeah.
Somebody who's in my life on a daily basis, somebody with whom it was part of, it defined me.
Yeah.
This relationship defined me.
Yeah.
So when I felt it was broken, oh my God, how do I see me? I don't even see me whole anymore because I'm defined by this relationship in some way. So that's the why I felt it was absolutely necessary to repair. But the how, I think, even though we tried immediately because we both knew it was important to both of us, I think we agreed on that, or we recognized that, we couldn't. We needed to give it a little bit of time for the shock of the event to sort of, cool down a little bit, right? So there's an element of patience, time, respect, space, giving space.
Boundaries.
Yeah. All of this is important when you're trying to go through hell with someone.
Yeah. Okay, so then the first step is having the will, and I think the second step is one person needs to extend an olive branch, some kind of reaching out, right? And so you reached out to me, and interestingly enough, and I always describe this, like I was in love at the time, and my heart was really open, and when you reached out to me, I felt, this is right. And so, but I was nervous, I was hurt, I was like, I didn't know how it was going to be. And so when one person reaches out, the other person always has the choice as to what they do. And they can either reach, out back, or they can say, I'm not ready.
Or they can redefine the boundary.
Yeah, I'm not ready now, or I'm never going to be ready. And I think that giving that respect to whatever choice the other person wants to make is really important.
Yes.
Because if you don't have, for me, respect underpins all relationships.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, if you don't have respect, you don't have a relationship, I think.
Absolutely. And sometimes what comes back from the other person may not be what you were hoping for or expecting or wishing for.
Sure.
And
that's obviously, then the feelings come into it, right? That's hard. Like,
you get your little heart and your ego gets a little hurt.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
see, that's interesting that you've differentiated between heart and ego.
Oh, there's a difference. In my body, I feel like there's a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you define the difference?
Oh God, this is for another conversation. But
just in one sentence,
how do I define the difference? Yeah. I don't know how to define it, but I know where I feel it, and I maybe this answers it in some way.
Okay.
Heart, clearly, I feel it in
your heart,
in my heart cavity, and this part of my body. It's more of an emotion that surfaces. And ego is my brain. It's up here. It's something that happens in my head. It's a conversation that it's like a loop. It's like a loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas heart it's the pain, it's the bleeding, it's the, yeah.
Or it's the palpitations and the excitement that you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that joy.
Yeah. Or that feeling. Yeah, and I also feel like when I feel upset or tense or frustrated, I feel my throat tightens. And I find I kind of feel almost like I'm being strangled.
If you do work with some psychologists or therapists, sometimes when they ask you a question that triggers a reaction in you, they sometimes ask you, where do you feel it in your body?
Right? Oh yes, yeah, I've had that. Yeah.
And I always thought, the first time I was asked, well, where do I feel it? I don't know, I'm not sure, I have to stop and think. But I think it's great because what it's making you do is stop and check in with your body and sort of take a breath while you're doing that. You're coming back to the present moment And where do I feel it? And if you feel it more in your
Gut,
in your gut, in your
stomach,
heart, you know,
then it's coming from a more authentic place.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's coming from a more instinctive, more authentic place. It's more of a feeling. But if you're feeling it more here, or tightness in your chest, or your palms are sweaty and clammy, or you're getting almost pressure somewhere, then it's more of an ego, I think, right?
Yeah, maybe it's more of a need. Yeah.
It's more of a need, a lack, where
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We've so going back.
Let's recap.
So going back to I just want to just delve a little bit into what are the steps taken to repair. So say both people are ready. They're ready. They're willing, and they want to repair. What would you say, based on our experience? What would you say made it a situation that not only has our friendship repaired, but actually we both feel that our friendship, we call it the 2.0 version.
Yeah.
Our friendship is, I was blindsided by that. I thought that it was just about resolving the pain. I didn't think that it was then exponentially going to become better.
Yes,
me
neither.
So what would you say are the things that worked for us that might work for other people too, who are struggling with this journey of how to repair a friendship that means a lot to them, or a relationship that means a lot to them?
Well, like I said, at first you have to check in, and you might have to check in a few times with that person to see when that person is ready to take a step towards you as well.
Okay.
Even though you might be ready, the other person may not be. And if
True.
they say, not now, I can't, I'm not ready. Or if they say nothing, because sometimes...
No response is a response.
Yes, we all know this. We've all been ghosted. We've
God.
all not
That's a whole other show.
That's a whole other show. But, that can happen too.
Yeah.
Where they don't reply. And you're left wondering, what's going on? Where are they? Has something happened to them? Or do they just don't want to reply?
Did they just not get my message?
Do they hate us? Do they hate us more now than they did before? I mean, all those thoughts, right? And that's the ego.
Yeah. Yes, it's true. That's the ego.
Those conversations are coming from a place of ego. So,
so let's assume mutuality.
Let's assume mutuality.
Okay.
I think the next big element is respect and incremental, tiny little steps, right? That I think build a lot of excitement as well.
It's true. I want to share something funny with you. That first, when you reached out to me, it was on email. And then we were still friends on Facebook. We had never severed that connection. Thank God for Facebook.
Yes.
Because we wished
Thank
each
you,
other.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah. And I remember seeing you on Facebook chat. And I remember sending you, because I'd got the email and I hadn't responded for a day or something. I remember seeing the little green dot and then writing to you and saying, "Hi Zas, I got your email." And I literally held my breath as I saw Zas is typing. And I was like,
so exciting.
Yeah, I was like, she's typing. She actually wants to talk to me back. And then you and I actually, and probably a testament to our friendship, we sort of covered a lot of ground in that first Facebook chat, because we had 3 years worth of life things,
right.
There were health issues.
There were changes in
our
lives.
Yes, lots of changes in our lives. And then I remember the first time that we Skyped, because immediately after we were like, oh, well, we should Skype because, we wanted to see each other. And I was really nervous.
Well, we both were. We both were
nervous.
You were nervous. You know what? It felt like I was dating.
Oh, that's exactly.
And I hadn't been, at that time when we were reconnecting, I was in a relationship. I wasn't dating, is what I'm trying to say.
I just started a relationship, so I wasn't dating.
So it felt like, oh, is she going to type back? Or, I'll say this, but I'm not going to go too far. I'm not going to ask too many questions. I'll let her tell me. Yeah. I'll wait. And then, oh, she wants to talk to me again. So, oh my God, Skype, it's like another level. Yeah, now we get to see each other.
Yeah, it's a level of letting each other into each other's lives.
So,
and I'll tell you that when we first Skyped, it was so weird, and I did not expect it, but it literally felt like coming home. There was a level of familiarity there that I was so shocked.
I did not expect it either.
I was shocked that after a period of not speaking for a while, which was just inconceivable, to feel that familiarity. And I think, maybe maybe in rebuilding, we've established it takes two and incremental steps, but also maybe it's that when you experience little nuggets of hope, it's the little nuggets of hope that prepare you or propel you to take the next step. Because our friendship in reality was built back, I would say, over a period of about 8 months.
Mm-hmm. To
right?
a year.
To a year. But it took that much time for us to really be sort of back there where we truly trusted each other. To
rebuild trust. I was just going to use the word trust. So trust was the result of practicing it was like mini dates with each other over 8 months. So okay, let's see if I can recap a little bit, because looks like we're going over time. Respect, time, respect, practicing having mini dates, if you will.
Mini steps, and
mini conversations. And doing that over time. Consistency, being there, responding, But one thing I think we didn't do was, and this is back to the beginning of our conversation on the video, is we didn't have a checklist.
No. We didn't have an agenda.
An agenda with, I want her to show me this before I move on to the next step.
I want her to say sorry for X, Y, and Z.
Or I want her to say sorry.
Yeah.
Or I expect to have a conversation at this time, about what happened back then. And if that conversation doesn't happen, then I'm going to be disappointed. I can't check it off the list. We need to talk about this.
Before we move forward.
Yeah. Actually, we just accepted
where we were.
What we gave to each other.
Yeah. And to be honest, I don't think that was the first time in my life that I had ever done that. In that way, where I literally took what was took what was given, and was grateful for what was given, without immediately letting my brain go to, but I want this as well.
Right. That's the ego once again. That's us wanting to get something more.
Yeah.
I got this, but I want a little more.
Why couldn't it have been like this? I got it in the red box, but I really wanted the blue box with the yellow stars on them.
Well, we've all done this in romantic relationships. When we're dating somebody we have a crush on, and we think things are going really well, and we want things to move faster.
Oh my God, I'm literally just remembering text messages where you've said to me, Lara, be happy where things are. You've literally typed those words. Like, this is really great right now. Like, revel in the really great. There'll be time for the rest of it. So just wait and see. And I'm a lot better at that now. Now when I'm dating and whatever, I'm very mindful. But it takes practice.
Practice.
And you know that when you really want something or someone, or somebody really captures you, even if it takes practice, you kind of want it now. You want it all.
You want it all, yes. Absolutely.
Because we're rushing to the destination.
We're rushing to check things off the list.
Yeah.
And while we're doing that, we're projecting all our hopes and expectations onto someone else, which can in turn make them feel pressure, make them feel I'm not ready, and can have the opposite effect, can send those people running off in the other direction.
But on the not ready part, I just want to say...
I know where this is going.
Okay. I just want to say one thing about the not ready. I did have a belief, because I'm a romantic, let's just leave it, because I'm a romantic, I had a belief that even if one person isn't ready, and I think, and guys, please reply in the comments if you think I'm right or wrong about this, but I've always felt that there is a difference with men and women in terms of being ready. And this is what I
knew this was going to be.
And the reason is this. I think that for a lot of women, they are open to the idea of a relationship happening at whatever point in their lives. And it may not be the most convenient time, but they're generally open. But I think that sometimes for a lot of guys, they have things they want to achieve. So, they kind of want to feel stable in their job, or they want to sort of get a place and sort of have that stability, and they want to sort of, maybe it's a checklist. I don't know exactly, but and so therefore, if you meet somebody and they are not ready, I used to believe that if you meet the right person, your hearts and your souls will connect, and even if you're not ready, meeting that person
will become ready.
Yes, they become ready because they want to be with you.
They want to keep you in their life.
They want to keep you in their lives. But actually, what I've learned is that if you meet somebody and they're not ready, they're not ready. There's a full stop at the at the end of that sentence.
Seems like such an obvious statement.
I know,
but it takes us a lifetime of practice. and to really realize, to really understand,
and then maybe
that you can't make anyone ready.
You can't make, and nor should you, because a healthy relationship, this Jerry Maguire bullshit of you completely. I'm sorry, I don't believe in that at all. Unrequited love is bullshit, and you complete me is bullshit, because I think, and I'm not talking about perfection here, but I think that two people should enter. I use the should word. God, okay. You get the best version. Thank you. I was going to go for outcome, but I like version better. You get the best version of a relationship where two people feel in a relatively good space in themselves. They don't have to have the perfect life set up, whatever, but they feel generally comfortable with who they are, and they are both coming together to create a relationship made up of the two of them.
Mm-hmm. They're both adding.
Yes. And so it's not like, oh, I'm deficient, I'm feeling lonely, and so I need to be with you. Because a relationship that's based on need is never going to be successful. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I think, it's not somebody's job to get somebody ready. And you're never going to get the best version of that person if they don't feel ready and they don't feel willing. Which I guess comes full circle that,
Success.
The successful relationships are mutual. And they're stemming from a healthy place, not from ego, but from your heart.
Yeah.
Wow. So, did we deconstruct relationships?
I think we did, but we, I don't think we can. We're doing this because we are experts. We are navigating.
My goodness.
We're navigating our lives.
As best as we can.
The same way everybody is, as best as we can.
With a little bit of laughter and a little bit of fun.
With a really good friend, with someone by your side that can hold your hand through when you fall.
Yeah.
And
help you get back up.
And who can tell you, girl, you're full of BS. Come on.
True.
Who can also sort of snap you out of funk if you're in one, or who can, but all the while doing it with love.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that the greatest relationships in our lives are the ones where somebody can hold your heart, make you feel safe.
Without pulling you faster than you can go.
So accepting you for who you are, but also elevating you to your best potential. Because that's one thing that you and I do with each other. We call each other out. We have the confidence and strength in our relationship where if we see that we're acting in a way that, we don't think is right, and not with each other, but with other, people in our lives, we can kind of say, hey, I saw what you did there. Mm-hmm. And now it's so part of how, we consciously interact that we're able to receive these things from each other, and it doesn't wound us either.
Right.
And I think
But we always do it with love and respect. We never do it in a way that could be hurtful,
True. So there's intent, I suppose, yes. So there's intent in the way that one says it. So how do we bring this to a close? How do we sum up?
I think we should just invite people to tell us if what they felt when they heard us having this conversation.
Yeah.
If they engaged, if it spoke to them, if it tapped into something that they have experienced, if they agree or disagree with the quotes that we discussed.
And what do you believe makes for a successful life? Do you believe that it's in the relationships that you have and the roles that you fulfill, or do you believe that it's more personal and it's sort of about figuring out who you are? So anyway, guys, This has been a joy to talk to you
On the red couch.
on the red sofa. And yes, as Zas said, we would love to hear comments and ideas and questions and even topics that you would like covered in future episodes. So with that, I'm going to say bye. Much love and bye for now. And I was looking for my... there we go. My little remote thing. So, all right, guys. So, bye and see you in the next episode.